Hi everyone, welcome to Beyond the Evidence. This is the channel where justice matters. My name is Marv. I am a true crime fanatic, and I love to dig deeper into the mysteries of unsolved cases. Join me as we search for missing persons, uncover the clues in unsolved murders, follow along with jury trials, and we'll be a voice for the voiceless. I'll share with you the facts, the theories, the clues, the evidence, and the controversies that surround these cases. This is Beyond the Evidence. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 4th. And I'm sorry, I'm a few minutes late. My husband just got home from work. I have not seen him yet today. And I had to wish him a happy 25th wedding anniversary and thank him for my gifts. So I got a beautiful bouquet of roses and a day at the spa. I can't wait. So, sorry I'm late. Like I said, had to wish him a happy anniversary. It's a big milestone. It's 25 years for us. So, all right. We have received the transcripts. We got all of the ones that the defense requested. So we're going to start out on those. And then we are going to continue that later tonight at 8 p.m. when Ruckus, Kristen Behind the Crime Door, and Frank Meister joins me. I'm hoping Frank is going to join me here and help me read these, but I don't know if he's home yet. So let's look at the chat here. Rescue says, first, love you, Rescue. Thank you. I do have to say thank you to some individuals. They don't need the recognition or credit, but I'm going to give it to them. So today, Frank Meister and Rescue All the Dogs drove to Fort Wayne to get these transcripts for me. So I want to say thank you so much for them doing that. That's a 2-hour drive there and a 2-hour drive back. And I want to thank Kathy Clendenning for scanning them in for me, because she did it much quicker than I could have ever done it. And I want to thank Jinx also for trying to coordinate all this stuff, helping me coordinate, getting people there to the courthouse, and just helping keep me sane the past 2 days. And always to my bestie. She's always there for me. So I appreciate her, Andrea, so much. But I am very honored to have these people stand alongside me and to be able to call them my friends and my true crime family. They really look out for me. They help me when I'm in a bind. They keep me sane. They do so much behind the scenes to help me. And I appreciate each and every single one of them and all of you so much. Let's see here. Yep, Rescue's driving still. I'm so pumped for this live. Yes. Mustang, good to see you. This is why we're all here. justice for Abby and Libby. Let's remember them. It's important that we always remember this is about them. They are the ones that they're the reason we're all here. They are the ones that lost their lives. They are the ones, they and their families are the ones that are in torture and pain over this every day. We are here to support the families and support the girls. 1 second. Just fixing something on the channel here so that everybody can find this live who wants to. All right, my chat replay is on, so that is good. So tonight, we have 3 depositions from Jerry Holeman that we're going to start with. And thank you so much for the happy anniversaries. I appreciate it. We're stuck in traffic. Okay. Yes, I'm going to have you help me read in the beginning till Frank can get here. Hello, Brandon. How are you? Hello, Audrey. How are you? Misty Free Spirits in the house. Frank Meister says, stuck in traffic. You know, they did such a good job today. I don't think they hit traffic until now. So, well, hey, Melissa, how you doing? Let's see. Who am I missing? Linda, how are you? Super cool Granny. Nice. Glad you could join us. Blue-eyed trucker. Hey, how you doing? Today is the first day that I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I agree, Brandon. I absolutely agree. Boston, how are you doing? Let's see. Phil, good to see you. Thank you very much. And Jill, how are you? And yep, gotcha. Okay, I think I've got everybody that's in here so far. Now remember, this is just the first part tonight. You're probably not going to get a notification for the next live. But come back at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to read more and have a panel discussion. Hey, Ron Logan, you're sober today. What's up with that? Joe, how are you doing? Ziggy, 1967. Justice is coming, and it's gonna be sweet. You got that right. Hi, Ben. How are you? Okay. I need to do one thing real quick here. I need to go to sent. Okay. It's not working. Let's try a new email. It's not coming up. All right, we're going to try this one more time. Oh, that would be why I was not spelling it right. Ron, go back to the bottle. Oh, I love our community. I'm just waiting for Andrea to come on. I have to invite her so that she can help me read these, because it's better when two of us read them instead of one person reading them. So before we start with Delphi, I just want to send everyone in Georgia my thoughts and prayers. There was another school shooting today. 2 students and 2 teachers lost their lives. And school has only been in session for a month for most kids. Today was my son's first day back to school. So please send your love and your thoughts and your prayers to that community. They need it right now more than ever. Okay, Andrea is booting her computer up. So as you all know, in the Delphi murders trial, the motion of limine was granted. I did a short 15 to 20 minute video on that earlier today. And we are going to discuss that in length tonight during our open panel, or our panel discussion. We're going to tell you, once again, we'll go through it quickly, what they're not allowed to talk about, how it's going to affect the defense, and what happens if they do mention any of this. There could be serious consequences. All right, let me bring in my partner in crime. There she is.
Lord have mercy. You talk about hurry up.
You're good at it.
Well, I did it in like 30 seconds.
I know. I emailed you the document.
Okay.
Reading too.
Yeah, I got it. Which one are you reading first?
The motion to suppress.
There was 3 of them.
Yes, there's
okay.
4 of them for Jerry.
That's the one I got. Okay. I got it. I'm ready to go.
Okay. So this is the testimony. Yeah. This is the testimony of Detective. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. What in the world? I labeled this wrong. Hang on one second.
Okay, so this is not the one we're doing. This is the motion to suppress.
Does yours say Brian Harshman or Jerry Holeman on the first page?
Jerry Holeman.
Okay, I had the wrong one up. It's okay. I got it now.
Okay. Who's who?
As usual.
Same old.
You get to be the attorney, and I'll be Jerry Holeman.
Okay, cool.
So this is the testimony of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman given at a hearing on motion to dismiss held July 30th, 2024.
Oh, hang on. I got the motion to suppress.
We're doing good.
Lord have mercy.
I can do the motion
Okay.
to suppress if
Got
you
it.
need me to.
No, I got the motion. I got the motion to dismiss.
Okay.
I got it up now. Okay. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Direct examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman. Proceedings. Attorney James Luttrell. Yes, Your Honor. We would call Lieutenant Holeman. Witness sworn. Direct examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman. Questions by Mr. Luttrell. For the record, state your name.
Jerry Holeman, Holeman.
And explain what your current assignment is and where you work.
My current assignment is the clears throat, area investigative commander. I oversee Lowell, Lafayette, and Peru posts, the investigative side of all three of those posts, and my current rank is lieutenant.
And you've testified previously regarding in depositions and in hearings regarding your role in these murders. Is that correct?
Yes, at the time of the investigation, I was the first sergeant, which is the DIC of Lafayette Post, which oversees all criminal investigations.
And you were part of the Central Command or in command of this
Yes, I was.
investigation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Regarding a phone extraction or any examination of any kind of Brad Holder phone, do you have any knowledge of that?
No, sir.
Have you observed any records or any evidence that such an extraction ever occurred?
No, sir.
Regarding the interview by detectives Lemler and Purdy at Logansport PD of Brad Holder, sometime later in the last summer or fall 2017, do you have any information about the records or reports or recordings of that interview or conversation?
No, I do not. I didn't recall. I never knew that they went over and interviewed him. During that time frame, I was at a training. I think I took vacation in September, started training October, finished the training in December, and I think I came back middle of January. So I wasn't involved in that investigation during those 14 weeks. I was at the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia.
What I understand, if Detective Purdy's memory is correct, he said he believed August of 2017, but regardless, you were not aware of no recording of that conversation with Brad Holder.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of the interview happening or any recordings whatsoever.
Lieutenant Holeman, based upon your department's examination of LG's cell phone, including the video taken on February the 13th of 2017 at the Monon High Bridge, but all the other data collected on that phone, as well as the crime scene evidence, can you tell us when and where these murders occurred?
Through all the information that we discussed and evidence that was presented to us, we believe that the murders occurred between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. on February 13th on Ron Logan's property across the creek from where the Monon High Bridge is.
And the time of the video is what time?
I believe it was 2:17, somewhere in there.
And you believe that the abduction occurred at that time?
Yes, I believe from the video that Mr. Allen told the girls to go down the hill.
And you believe that the murders occurred sometime within that hour or so?
I believe so, yes.
And is that based upon your review of the evidence, specifically the evidence that I summarized, the cell phone data, the crime scene evidence?
Yes.
Mr. Baldwin introduced an at exhibit a little bit ago from Agent Pohl's report of the interview of February 17th, 2017 of Brad Holder. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
To your knowledge, where did Brad Holder claim that he was? Assert that he was on the afternoon of February the 13th.
He claimed to be at work at the Liberty landfill in Buffalo, Indiana.
Are you familiar with Buffalo, Indiana and the landfill?
Yes.
Do you know approximately how far it is from the Monon Bridge area of Delphi?
Approximately maybe a 30-minute drive, 30 to 35-minute drive.
Did he indicate where else he was after work when he was speaking to the officers on February the 17th of 2017?
Yes, he did. He told them that he went to a workout facility in Logansport, Indiana.
I'm going to hand you what I've marked as states 4. Could you identify what this is?
Sorry, this is an email from, looks like Michael. It's basically the check-in time at workout anytime in Logansport, Indiana. I believe that's oh, I'm sorry. This is his work records. Sorry about that.
From where?
From Liberty Landfill.
The facility in Buffalo, Indiana?
Yes.
In Exhibit 5, since you mentioned
Yeah.
the work fitness place.
Yes, this is a login. They had a key fob login system, and this is the time he checked in at workout anytime in Logansport, Indiana.
So those are documents. Exhibit 4 from Liberty Landfill in Buffalo, Indiana. And the other is Anytime Fitness from Logansport, Indiana.
Yeah, workout anytime, Logansport, Indiana.
Mr. Luttrell, I would move that admission of exhibits 4 and 5. States exhibits 4 and 5 offered. Mr. Baldwin, no objection. The court. All right, without objection, 4 and 5 are admitted. States exhibits 4 and 5 admitted. And if you would indicate to the court, what does exhibit 4 say about Brad Holder's work hours on February the 13th of 2017?
On February 13th, 2017, he clocked in at 4:55 a.m., clocked out at 12:12 p.m. for lunch, clocked back in at 12:42 p.m., and then clocked back out at 2:45 p.m.
In terms of exhibit 5, when does it say that he entered workout anytime facility?
On February 13th, he arrived at the facility at 4:08 p.m.
In the Brad Holder deposition that the defense took, are you familiar with the fact that he indicated that he believed his phone had been handed over to the police?
Yes.
And did he also equivocate and say that he was not sure?
Yes.
It's been alleged in our pleading that the conversation took place on page 13 and 14 of the deposition. I haven't taken the time to give that to you today, but does that sound correct to you?
Yes. We've discussed what he said.
Did he also indicate in that deposition that he oriented that experience of turning over his phone, that his phone and his son's phone was collected at the same time?
Yes, he did.
Did he say that was at the Delphi Police Department?
Yes, I believe so.
And in fact, as the document offered by the defense and you've testified, Agent Pohl and Officer Godey interviewed Brad Holder on February 17th, 2017. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you familiar with the fact that the Indiana State Police did collect Logan Holder's phone?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to show you what has been marked for identification purposes as States Exhibit 6. Can you identify that, sir?
It is a consent to search cellular telephones. Looks like it was located in Logansport High School, conducted by at the time, Sergeant Brian Bunner with the Indiana State Police. And they took Logan Holder's phone, and it's signed by his mother, Shannon.
At Logansport High School?
Yes.
On what date?
2/14 of 2017 at 12:45 p.m.
I'd move the admission of Exhibit 6. State's Exhibit 6 offered. Mr. Baldwin, no objection. The court, all right, 6 is admitted without objection. State's Exhibit 6 admitted. Is it your understanding, based upon this documentation and the work of Sergeant Bunner, that the Indiana State Police collected the Logan Holder phone at Logansport High School on February the 14th, not at Delphi Police Department on February the 17th?
That is correct.
In fact, did Sergeant Bunner document and indicate why he was at Logansport High School on February the 14th, approximately noon?
To collect Logan Holder's phone.
And was it while he was present at the high school that he learned that the girls' bodies had been discovered?
Yes, he did.
Sergeant Bunner would have arrived at Logansport High School with the intent to obtain this phone, if possible, in order to assist in the searching of the girls. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Mr. Luttrell, nothing further. The court. Mr. Baldwin. Cross-examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman. Questions by Mr. Baldwin.
Okay, before we start with that, let's kind of review here. So he's stating that after he tells them what his job duties are and everything, and he's stating that Brad Holder had told him that his phone had been taken on the 17th, but actually, in reality, what we found is that it wasn't Brad Holder's phone. It was Logan Holder's phone, and it was taken on the 14th at 12:45 p.m. in order to help find the girls. So then they're talking about Brad Holder and where. Oh, first he says to him, "When do you believe this occurred?" Meaning the unaliving of the girls. And he says between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. on the 13th. And he was specific. He said on Ron Logan's property across the creek from where the Monon High Bridge is. And that video was taken at 2:17 p.m. somewhere in there. So then they're talking about where was Brad Holder that day? Liberty Landfill. We know that he logs in, because this is important. Hang on.
I live in Indiana, and I never heard of Buffalo, Indiana.
Really?
Mm-mm.
We know that Brad Holder logged into work at 4:55 a.m., clocked out at 12:12 p.m. for lunch, clocked back in at 12:42 p.m., and he left at 2:45 p.m. Now, Holeman says that it is a 30 to 35 minute drive
to work out anytime. And it said his key fob showed he clocked in at 4:05.
Right. So from 2:45 to 4, what time? 4:08.
4:05.
He arrived at the facility at 4:08. Okay, so from 2:45 to 4:08, he was in the process of driving there, which is 1 hour.
It's about 58 minutes or 53 minutes longer than what it should have been.
Yeah, an hour and 23-minute gap in his time. All right. Go ahead with the cross-examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman.
Okay, questions by Mr. Baldwin. Law enforcement believes that once Richard Allen left the scene, he never came back on the 14th. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Who turned on the phone at 4:33 a.m.?
I believe the phone was still on. I think there's some conflicting reports on when it actually the battery died. And I think there's some confusion on the pings. The pings will still go. So I think the phone was still on. It just, there's some confusion on that when it actually went.
Who have you talked to about the phone turning on at 4:33 a.m.?
I just heard about that recently, was discovered in the new software that they used. Before that, we were told it was, the phone went off, I believe, at 5 p.m. that day. But now I think there's some new technology showing that it was on.
I knew about it last fall. Do you think that the new software came out before or after last fall are you talking about?
I don't recall.
So you did not know about the 4:33 a.m. Attorney Jennifer Aju on the 14th. On the 14th, thank you. That the phone turned on at 4:33 a.m. You did not know about that last fall. Is that correct?
No, I did not.
You've been in the courtroom during these hearings. Is that correct?
Yes.
You heard about Exhibit F, which was admitted into evidence, which is a listing of, by our count, 101 people whose phones were extracted.
Yes.
So tell me about, if you know, about Noah Dillon. Did Noah Dillon date Abby Williams because his phone was extracted?
Not to my knowledge.
Did he have a mimicked crime scene, Noah Dillon, on his Facebook page?
Not to my knowledge.
Did he have a hand ruin that mimicked what the sticks that were on AW's body? Did he have that? Mr. Luttrell, objection to relevant, Your Honor. The court, what's the relevance? Mr. Baldwin, it is. I'm trying to make the point here that Brad Holder had all of those things, and they claim that they did not extract his information from his phone. But we have 101 people whose phones were extracted that did not have nearly or any connection whatsoever. That's the relevance. The court. Okay, well, you made that point. Mr. Baldwin, you heard me read into the record. May I have the first one? The FBI emails, please. I thought that was E. You heard me read into the record emails between Jay Abbott of the FBI and Doug Carter. Did you not?
I did.
February the 17th. Here's suspect 6 is being worked on right now. He has ties to Bradley Holder, who we have been working. He may have ties to Vinlanders. DT squad. What's that stand for? Do you know?
Drug task?
Drug Task Force Squad is apprised and task sources to collect any intelligence which may assist. That is a February 17th. What day was Brad Holder interviewed?
The 17th, I believe.
Brad Holder was a suspect at that time, correct?
Like Kevin Murphy said, I think some people might have considered him. Others did not. I think just because we got tips or information on somebody, in this case, the father of a subject that's dating the victim, doesn't necessarily make him a suspect. But it's definitely somebody that we want to gather intelligence about.
And intelligence. Part of gathering intelligence would be, hey, Brad Holder, thanks for coming in today. Can I have your phone, right?
Early on, maybe not. But that was done by the FBI. So I'm not sure what their...
Well, Logan Holder's name is not in this document as somebody that they were working hard.
Who is suspect 6?
Mr. Luttrell. Objection. There's no question in front of the witness. The court. Yeah, sustained.
Can I read that? Because...
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't say who suspect 6 is. So I don't know who you're referring to.
Well, Logan Holder's, they mentioned Bradley Holder. If they were going to mention, are you suggesting the suspect is that suspect 6 is Logan Holder?
No.
Logan Holder had his phone taken on the 14th of February. We just heard that, correct?
Yes, that was part of the missing persons investigation at that time.
Right. Bradley Holder, 3 days later, you're saying that they did not take his phone.
I'm saying that there's no documentation or evidence indicating that the FBI or anybody else took anything from his phone.
Even though he says that he thinks that they did?
I think he was confused. Yeah, on that.
Okay, I mean, he could be confused about the day it happened and where it happened. What I think he said is Logan and I turned it over at the same time, but he might not be confused about whether the phone was taken. Can Mr. Luttrell, objection. If that's a question, it calls for speculation. Mr. Baldwin, I'll withdraw it. Would you agree with me that Limler and Purdy should have recorded the interview in Cass County at Logansport?
No, I would not.
How? Can you give me this? What about a report? Should they have written a report?
As Detective Purdy said, when you're just gaining information about a subject matter, the state police does not require you to document that information. So I would say most detectives would not have documented that when they're just trying to gain subject matter.
They should have taken Brad Holder's phone though on the 17th. Would you agree?
No, I would not agree with you.
You would have taken his phone. Were you?
No, I don't know if I would have or not. But at that time, he was the father of the boy that was dating AW, a victim. So we're just getting information from them. And we didn't get the other information until later.
No other questions. The court, Mr. Luttrell. Mr. Luttrell. Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you. The court. All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down. The witness.
Okay. So that whole exchange is whether they should have taken Brad Holder's phone and did a dump on it. And as he explained, no. They were just at that point, they were investigating the disappearance of 2 girls. They were trying to find information and ways to locate these girls.
I'll be right back.
So no report would have been created at that time. They didn't get tips and anything else about Odinist and all that until later on. So there was no point to make a report or take Brad Holder's phone. That is what these documents are telling me. That is the whole basis of the defense's cross-examination. Now, whether we as the common people agree with that or not, that is the police procedure. At that time, when they talked to Brad Holder, it was just an investigation of 2 kids missing. They were not suspects at the time or anything like that. So at that time, there was no report written up, and they did not request to take Brad Holder's phone. Hi, all on the prowl. So that to me is big information. You know, this whole time the defense is making it sound like, you know, they knew about the Odinist, and it wasn't at that time that they knew about that. This is at the time they were investigating 2 missing girls. They had not gotten that far in the investigation yet to even know about any of that. And that is what this portion of the document is telling me. Andrea, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so if he went to the high school on the 14th to get Logan's phone, right?
Right. That's the day the girls were found.
Right, but he said at that point in time that it was just a missing persons case at the time.
Right.
And then while he was there, he got the phone call that they had been found.
Correct.
So then at that point in time, it wouldn't be a missing persons case anymore.
It would have gone into a homicide investigation.
Right. So that's kind of wonky.
But
if
it,
you ask me.
it
But
happened simultaneously.
true. Yeah, I get that.
You know, they were at the school to get Brad Holder's phone to see if he had any texts or any information on location of the girls.
Right.
At that time is when they found them. Okay. So then, yes, it goes into a homicide investigation from there.
Right.
But at that point, I wouldn't have asked to download Brad Holder's phone.
Yeah.
Logan Holder, absolutely. And that's what they did. So. All right. This is what happens when you PO a judge. Yes, it was the son's phone at the high school. Logan's phone at the high school.
Yeah, well, they have every reason to look at his phone because since he was dating her.
All right, I'm just going back through the comments here real quick. Yes, once again, thank you to everyone who contributed to help obtain the transcripts and pick them up, scan them, and get them to me. I appreciate it. Okay, so that was Jerry Holeman from the motion to dismiss part of it.
Which one are you doing now?
Now we're going to do the testimony of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman given at hearing on motion to suppress.
Okay.
Held July
30th.
31st.
Wait a minute. I got to go back. I pulled up the same one.
It's easy to do.
I got it.
Okay. So once again, this is testimony of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman given at the hearing on motion to suppress held July 31st, 2024.
Ready?
Yep.
Direct examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman proceedings. Attorney Bradley Rossi. Trooper Jerry Holeman, Your Honor. Witness sworn. Mr. Rossi, may I? The court, yes. Direct examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman. Questions by Mr. Rossi. Tell us your name.
Jerry Holeman, Holeman.
Thank you, Trooper. And who do you work for?
Indiana State Police.
And you were here yesterday and we went through all this. You're one of the lead investigators in this case. Is that right?
Yes.
And you are generally familiar with Rick Allen's detention circumstances, or have you been familiarized with them over the past 18 months or so?
His?
Detention circumstances.
Yes.
Where he's been held, what the circumstances are where he's been held, and where he's been transported to. Those kind of things.
Yes.
And is that related to his circumstances at the White County Jail initially?
Carroll County, White County,
I'm sorry, Carroll County.
Westville,
White County, Westville,
and then Wabash.
all of those, right?
Yes.
All right. And do you acknowledge, or is it accurate to say that some of his conduct while he's been detained has been a part of this ongoing investigation in this case?
His conduct?
Yeah, the thing he's saying, the things he's doing, the way he's acting,
Statements that he's made.
all those kind of things.
Are you asking about statements that he's made?
Yeah. Well, and the way he's acted for.
Yes.
Okay. And have you assigned officers in the course of your investigation to, I guess, investigate, for a lack of a better word, the circumstances regarding his detention at Westville?
I've assigned them to monitor his phone calls.
And tell us who those officers are.
The main one is Trooper Brian Harshman.
All right.
At some point early on, Detective Vito was involved in that, but mostly the documentation and investigation of it is going to be through Brian Harshman.
I think I saw also where at some point Investigator Mullen from the prosecutor's office was doing some interviews up at Westville as well. Am I correct about that?
Yes, Steve Mullen, Rich Davies, myself, and Brian Harshman, I believe, were the only ones that went up there and interviewed correction officers and or inmates.
And what was it that first prompted you to either send someone up there to do some interviews or conduct some interviews yourself?
Can't remember exactly the date and time, but we received information that he had made some confessions, so that after that, we subpoenaed records, any other records that may indicate any audio, video, or written statements or anything like that, and received information from the prison. We were able to review the documentation and find out that he had confessed to not only his wife, mother, corrections officers, and inmate companions. So we got that documentation, reviewed it, found out who we needed to interview, and interviewed them.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. So who was it that first contacted you to communicate these issues to either you or your staff?
No one contacted us. We were monitoring his phone calls. And once he made the first couple confessions, at some point after that, we decided to subpoena any other records that the person might have, and they sent those to us. Nobody from the prison contacted us.
So you were actually monitoring his phone calls as a part of your investigation before any of these even occurred, these statements?
Yes.
That was a formal part of your investigation. You set that up so that you could do that while he was there.
Yes.
All right. And I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to kind of get to the point that you did that through GTL, the GTL service.
I believe that the company's name, yes.
And did you reach out to the prison officials to get that information to communicate with GTL?
I did not.
Okay.
I don't know who.
Did one of your staff members?
I don't know who did, but somebody did, yes.
All right. And so basically, you were using GTL as your conduit for essentially surveilling his communications to the outside?
We were monitoring his phone calls, yes.
How is it that you know whether or not these phone calls would be phone calls he would have had with his lawyers, other than just hearing his lawyer's voice?
Right. Well, the prison has it set up that those don't go into GTL. So those, we don't get any communications between him and his attorneys. I don't know how they do it, but we have never listened to any conversation between him and any of his attorneys.
Did you listen to have somebody on your staff or you listen to these calls like on a weekly basis, or is this almost like in real time? Help me with how that works.
Weekly, maybe a little more frequently than that, but
then my view of this is that you've got some officer with a pair of headphones on sitting in an office somewhere like, okay, now I got to go through a week's worth of phone calls, and you sit down and you kind of knock them off in bulk. Is that an unreasonable view or an incorrect view of what's inaccurate view of what's happening?
no, I would agree with that. There's a pretty accurate statement, probably maybe a little less or more, give or take.
And did you actually listen to those calls? I mean, as a matter of routine?
No,
So is it Officer Harshman that was doing that?
yes, Trooper or Detective Harshman was
Okay.
primarily. There was other people that were helping, but he's primarily the one that did all of the documentation of the phone calls of interest.
And so I'm assuming when you get those phone calls and you're listening to them, and then if you hear something that's of significance, such as these calls to his family, you then followed up with the prison, right?
No, or not necessarily me personally. I did a few.
Your staff.
Somebody would, yes.
And one of the things you did was you went out and got subpoenas and rounded up more information about his circumstances at the prison above and beyond the phone calls.
Correct.
And what was that information?
What I told you earlier was any audio, videotape movements, statements from the prison, documentations from the correction officers that were conducting the suicide watch, door. I think they called them door sheets or logs that they were keeping. Corrections officers. At some point, it switched. They did use prisoners as a companion program. But I think after he started making the confessions, they switched and no longer allowed the prisoners to do that. And they had the correction officers. So we got all those logs.
What about any information from the warden himself?
I can't remember if that came in the first subpoena or later. But yeah, we did get some information where he wrote a letter.
Okay, there.
To the warden.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
A letter to the warden.
What about with internal affairs? Any information that you got from them?
Not to my knowledge.
So once you received this information, did you continue to request the information to kind of continue to get updated information as he stayed at the prison? That's a kind of let me withdraw that question. That's kind of a compound question. Did you then routinely go through this same process to keep getting the most updated information regarding his detention circumstances?
As far as the phone calls, we continued to monitor them. We still would get information if there was any, I believe. Yes. I think the answer would be yes. We did continue to get information.
And maybe a simple question, I guess, I'm just thinking now is, when's the last time you asked for this information?
I'm not sure exactly when we asked for the updated information.
Because I get phone calls pretty routinely through the discovery dumps, but the written stuff, not so much.
Yeah, I don't think we've received any or asked for any written. I may be mistaken, but to my knowledge, I don't think we've gotten any more written reports.
Since he's been at Wabash Valley?
I don't think we have, no.
Do you believe that you've acquired all of those when he is at Westville, all the log sheets and companion reports and all that?
Up to the point when we got the subpoena, I don't think we re-subpoenaed or asked for any more information to my knowledge.
Have you ever listened to any of those phone calls yourself?
Yes.
Did you listen to any phone calls, let's say between December of 2022 and March 1st of 2023, the first 5 or 6 months he was there?
I believe I have listened to a few, yes.
Did you hear him on any of those phone calls assert his innocence?
I did not. No.
Have you ever read any reports where he asserted his innocence?
No.
You interviewed him twice before you arrested him, right?
Once. I just interviewed him once.
There were 2 interviews with law enforcement,
Correct.
right? And he asserted his innocence in both of those?
Yes.
And you listened to any of those phone calls from, let's say, August the 1st of 2023 while he was at Westville until he was transported in December of 2023?
Yes.
And did you hear him assert his innocence in any of those phone calls?
No. I would not listen to the calls on a daily basis. I would just get one sent to me that I should listen to.
And those are the ones that were of interest to you in terms of being incriminating, right?
Yes, sir.
So you were filtering just those phone calls through your staff.
Correct.
And so at some point, then did you start, I'll say directing, that might be a hard kind of an aggressive word, but directing some of your investigators to go to Westville to collect information about those phone calls and log sheets and things of that nature?
I don't think I directed anybody. I just said that we had some information, that we needed to go conduct interviews, and we just formulated a game plan. I know one day I went up with Brian Harshman, and I know Rich Davies, Steve Mullins went up. I may have went up by myself one day, but yeah.
So you went up to the prison and started interviewing guards and inmates, right?
Correct.
And those were people, the inmates were people that were assigned to him.
Yes.
And the guards were people that were specifically assigned to his cell.
Yes.
And you were recovering information from them, that anything that had to do with any incriminating statements he made, right?
Yes.
I've read those they're in transcribed form, right?
Yes, they are.
And those were given to the defense as a normal part of the discovery process, right?
I believe so, yes.
I've read those transcripts. Do you believe that you ever asked any one of those inmates if they ever heard him assert his innocence during their time with him?
I don't know if I asked, but I think that some of the guards may have said that he had said he was innocent.
I'm going to ask the same I asked it about inmates. I'm not trying to confuse you.
Yes.
The question was, did you ever ask any of those inmates if he said anything other than some of these incriminating statements?
I don't recall.
Same question with the guards.
I don't recall. I'd have to look at the transcripts review.
They're pretty short transcripts when I looked at them. The interviews, in my mind, were pretty quick.
Right.
Kind of right to the point. Did he say this? Do you recall that kind of approach?
I would agree with that. That's accurate.
You didn't ask any questions about the history of their monitoring him from beginning to end, did you?
I believe we did, ask about his behavior and things like that.
Do you recall asking them about conversations, any of these inmate companions, about conversations they had with him, aside from the incriminating ones that you've mentioned or were talking about?
Could you repeat that again?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do you recall asking any of the inmate companions about any conversations with him, aside from these ones that you were interested in, which is why you went there?
Yes, some. Well, some of them would volunteer that information.
Okay.
About his behavior and some things that he said other than what was on the logs.
Okay.
And we were there to talk about, yes.
And what you remember is there might have been some guards that told you that he had asserted his innocence in their presence.
I don't recall, but I believe if I could review those, I would be able to tell you for sure.
So there were officers that went to the prison to interview guards and inmates, correct?
Yes.
Did anyone ever go up there to interview Detective or Dr. Walla,
No.
the psychologist in this case?
No.
What about Warden Gallipo?
No.
What about the internal affairs officer?
No.
When you went to the prison, how'd you get access?
I forgot who exactly I would look up. their phone number, and I just called up there and told them I needed to come in there and interview Mr. Allen, and they would put me in contact with somebody. I don't remember their name. I think it was a major. And they would meet me down there and search me and put me through the metal detector and then take me back to wherever I would be interviewing him or other officers and I.
Was this the WCU unit where you interviewed these people?
Yeah,
So you went in the prison and then in the what I call mini prison within the prison.
not always, but I have been in
Okay.
there. And I've also been in the administrative building. There's a basement. They have an interview room.
Did you also do some follow-up investigations based on the things that you heard in some of these phone calls or read in some of these log sheets?
Other than interviewing the people that we've already discussed?
Yeah. Let me ask a cleaner question. You acknowledge that you listened to these phone calls, right?
Some of them.
And you heard things that Rick Allen said, right?
Yes.
And you characterized those things as incriminating, right?
Correct.
And did you then follow up with any of those statements by going, let's say, to CVS or to contacting a family member of his to further investigation?
Some things, yes.
And what do you recall doing?
One of the statements we went to CVS to, he had made a statement that he used a box cutter and that he had threw the box cutter in the dumpster at CVS. So we followed up on that and make sure to see if CVS issued box cutters.
Okay.
And they did. And then we asked where their trash was, but it was obviously too far along that we couldn't locate where that day's dumpster was dumped. But we'd follow up on things like that, yes.
So this was an ongoing investigation, right? Even while he was housed at the DOC?
If we had any new information, yes, we would follow up on it.
Follow up on it. And did you interview any of his family members or extensions of his family based on anything he said at the DOC?
No, I don't believe so.
I thought I recalled that maybe friends of his daughter or something like that might have been interviewed at one point in time.
Maybe. I know that we interviewed his daughter and his wife, but I think that was before.
Okay.
I don't recall. It could be a possibility that we did.
So as your law enforcement team expended, I guess I'd probably say hundreds of hours monitoring these phone calls and then reviewing all these log sheets and things that may have been created over the course of his stay.
Is that a question? That was more of a statement.
I'm sorry.
Did you say we? I heard.
Let me withdraw it. I'll ask a new one.
Okay, thank you.
Has your law enforcement agency expended hundreds of hours, if not more, in monitoring these phone calls and reviewing these logs and statements during the course of this investigation?
Yes.
Have you ever been involved in, how long have you been an investigator?
Probably 17 years, 16, 17 years at least.
Have you ever been involved in a case where an accused was housed in a county jail and there were log sheets generated by officers or staff of that jail?
I believe so.
Tell me what case.
I don't know exactly what case, but I think White County. Most of my investigations would have been White and Carroll and Tippecanoe County. And I know they have log sheets. I don't know if I've ever had to access them, and those log sheets would put, what time medication was issued, if there's an abnormal activity and things like that. But I would be able to review.
But you've never done that.
I have done it. I just don't know exactly what case.
Oh, I thought you just said a minute ago that you don't think you've accessed them.
I think I have. I don't know.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I know they have them.
All right.
I'm not sure if I've ever used them or not. I think I have.
Are you aware of any circumstance in any of the county jails that you've been associated with in your law enforcement career where they assign other inmates at that jail to monitor and keep record of another inmate?
No.
A more simple way of putting this is,
Right.
have you ever heard of the companion program in a county jail?
No, I have not.
Very unique, right?
I believe so, yes.
Mr. Rossi, I have no further questions. The court, Ms. Diener. Questions by attorney Stacy Diener. At one point, you were asked if you were interviewed, and you were making reference to interviews, and you said, interview Richard Allen. You never interviewed Richard Allen. Is that correct?
I did.
At the DOC?
Oh, no, not at DOC.
Okay.
I attempted to.
But you did interview employees of DOC who logged statements of his.
Yes.
Okay. Isn't it common for law enforcement in certain situations to monitor GTL calls or a similar system when a person's incarcerated and talking about their crime?
Yes, very common.
And my understanding is typically a person is given access and they don't need to contact someone every time they listen to a call. Is that right?
That's correct.
So you have a login. You can access it whenever you want.
Correct.
Ms. Diener, no further questions. The court, Mr. Rossi, I have nothing else. The court, all right. Thank you, Lieutenant. You may step down. This concludes the testimony of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman, given at a hearing on motion to suppress conducted July 31st, 2024 in this cause.
I'm kind of at a complete loss. The defense has to know that they monitor calls. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's been brought up in other cases.
Yeah, I mean, all jails monitor calls.
Right. Well, all jails monitor calls, but they have to know that somebody from the actual police station, law enforcement, also monitors those calls.
Well, I do know at Miami Correctional Facility, they have a company that monitors the phone calls. And then I don't know if they notify a police department or a detective or whatever if they hear something, or if they just give them the information, the detectives or whoever, the information if they need it.
I know
Like
there
if they
is
go and
companies
ask.
like that. It's rather expensive for smaller towns, so I can understand why Delphi probably wouldn't have that. They would just have some officer do it. So that makes sense. But it's just weird that the way I guess it's the way he's asking his questions that are weird to me. I'm just kind of going through and
I don't think there's been any questions. I just think they're all just having their own little conversation.
yeah, but I mean, this is all, I mean, to me, this is all information that I knew, type of thing.
Right.
You monitor the calls. If a statement is made, then you go and investigate it even further, and you just keep monitoring calls.
Right.
So, okay. All right. Well, it is 5:30 here. We've read 2 of these. We have one more from Jerry Holeman, but we're going to read that tonight.
That's only 9 pages.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Then let's read it if it's only 9 pages.
Okay.
Which one is it?
Testimony of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman given at hearing on motion in Lamine, held August the 1st.
Okay. Okay, I got it. 9 pages. We'll knock that out real quick.
It's actually only probably 5 or 6.
Okay.
Because the first 2 pages are the headers. Okay. Direct examination of Lieutenant Jerry Holeman proceedings. Attorney Andrew Baldwin called Jerry Holeman, witness sworn. Questions by Mr. Baldwin. State your name for the record.
Jerry Holeman, Holeman.
Thank you. Lieutenant Holeman, are you familiar with what I think is commonly often known as a sketch 1 and sketch 2?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to court reporter. Can you move your microphone? I can't hear Andy, but I can hear you too. Can you move the microphone to the other side of Attorney Bradley Rossi? Oh, sorry, the court. Oh, he's got his computer. Yeah, thank you. Andrew Baldwin. I'm going to hand you UU and VV. Can you identify those for me, please?
Yes, they are sketches. Sketch 1 and sketch 2.
Sketch, which one is sketch 1?
Depends on which one was released first to the media.
Yes.
This would be the first one that was.
Identify it by the number or the, I think it's the.
There's a number?
You want my glasses?
I got some. Where's the number at?
It's the exhibit sticker.
Oh, okay, yeah. UU, and there's a bunch of number. But yeah, it's UU.
UU is what the first sketch released.
Yes.
What we call sketch 1.
Uh-huh. And then VV would be the second sketch that was released.
Mr. Baldwin, move to admit UU and VV. Attorney Nicholas McClellan, no objection, Your Honor. The court, all right. Without objection, those exhibits are admitted. Okay, and UU and VV, sketch 1 and sketch 2 are the same guy.
Yes.
And can you see that?
I do.
Those are the same guy, right?
Yes.
And just so the judge is clear, sketch 1, which is this guy here, that is a sketch made by Sarah Carball's description of what she saw, correct?
Yes.
And sketch 2 is what Betsy Blair, the description she gave of the person she saw. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sketch 1 was the person that Sarah Carball claims that she saw at around 4 o'clock after you say that the girls were murdered, correct?
That is correct.
And sketch 2 is the Betsy Blair sketch, who Betsy Blair described that she saw probably around 2 o'clock, give or take, before the girls were murdered, as you say, on the 13th, correct?
Yes.
And both of these guys, again, are the same guy, correct?
Yes.
And both of these guys in sketch 1 and sketch 2 are this guy, Richard Allen, correct?
Yes.
But they don't look alike, do they?
They have similar features, but one looks younger than the other. Yes.
And it's fair to say that you need these guys to be the same guy for your timeline to work. Wouldn't you agree?
The evidence indicates that they're the same guy.
I understand that.
Yes.
But that's part of your theory of the timeline is dependent upon these guys being the same guy, sketch 1 and sketch 2, correct?
Yes.
But that's not always the way that the state police viewed sketch 1 and sketch 2, is it?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
The state police didn't always view sketch 1 and sketch 2 as the same guy, did they?
I've always viewed them as the same guy, yes.
Handing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit WW, which is a Indiana State Police, it's called an email update. I think there was also a press release sent out. Would you review that, please?
Sure.
Tell me when you're done.
I'm done. I'm finished, sir.
Thank you. This is a press release talking about sketch 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
And it says, it's important to distinguish these points about the two sketches. First bullet point, they are not the same person.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what that says.
Bullet point number 2, the person depicted in the originally released sketch is not presently a person of interest in this investigation, correct?
Yes.
Bullet point number 3, the sketch released on April 22nd, Mr. McClellan, Judge, I'm going to object at this point. I think the exhibit speaks for itself. If he wants to admit it, he can admit it. The court can review it. Mr. Baldwin, I'll admit it. The court, all right. Mr. McClellan, no objection, Judge. The court, all right. I'll show WW admitted without objection. Defendant's Exhibit WW was admitted. So, Detective Holman, the state police, while they're looking for the person that killed or people that killed AW and LG, they thought sketch 1 and 2 were different people.
I think there was some confusion.
Mr. McClellan, objection, Judge. It calls for some speculate what the ISP thought. He can testify as to what he thinks. But again, the document speaks for itself, Judge. The court sustained. Mr. Baldwin, the press release that you read indicates that these are two different people. Mr. McClellan, objection, asked and answered. The court sustained. Mr. Baldwin, after Richard Allen was arrested, sketch 1 and sketch 2 were considered to be just one person, Richard Allen, correct?
Yes.
No other questions. The court, Mr. McClellan, thank you, Judge. Questions by Mr. McClellan. Lieutenant Holman, sketches, are they a tool that law enforcement use to identify possible suspects in a crime?
Yes.
And are you aware in this offense, my understanding is that Ms. Carball and Ms. Blair, they didn't want to do a sketch, but they were pressured by police to assist in the investigation. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
And the timeline. They ask you the question, the timeline is dependent on the sketches. That's not a true statement, is it? Or our timeline isn't dependent on these sketches.
No, it's dependent on the people that saw those people that they sketched.
So witness testimony.
Yes.
And then the last question he asked you was, once Richard Allen was arrested, it was ISP's view that these are the same people. Has it always been your view that those sketches represent the same person?
Yes, sir.
So ISP's view may be different. Your opinion is that those represent the same person.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have any other questions, Judge. Mr. Baldwin, no other questions. The court, all right, thank you, Lieutenant. You may step down.
I knew those sketches were going to come in to be questioned somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
And there it is. All right. So those are the 3 testimonies of Jerry Holeman for the different motions. Got anything to say, Andrea?
No. No, head scratcher.
Head scratcher? We've read a lot of transcripts. At least this was easier to read than some that we've done.
Now, I'm going to interject something here.
Okay.
Okay. So her removing all of this stuff in the motion of mine, where that all the stuff that they can't talk about.
Right.
Do you realize that that's exactly what happened in the Tabby case?
Yes.
That's exactly what I thought of. I thought, how can you actually legitimately and honestly try a case when all this stuff is removed?
Because there is no evidence pointing that any of these individuals were there. Just like in the Tabby case,
Yep.
even though we think otherwise, there was no evidence that Michael Raines was part of what happened to Tabby.
And now, we've said this multiple times, we're open-minded, we're not one-sided. You know, Marv may have her opinion on if Richard Allen's guilty or innocent, whatever, but just what you said, because we think, or we know that certain people were there and weren't there, and there may be others that think Richard Allen wasn't there or he was there. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but I think the difference in this case is that they do have evidence that he was there.
Well, yeah, I mean, the bullet matches his gun, the description, the sketch, and all that stuff.
Everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have what they call definitive evidence, not hearsay theory, that's why this other stuff is not coming in, because they cannot definitively prove in any way, shape, or form that those individuals were at the bridge or Ron Logan's property at the time the girls were murdered.
Well, it's kind of like with Tabby's. They got hit. They got Kyle's mom's gun.
But Kyle was admitting that he was there.
Right.
That's the difference. No, these people are stating they were not there. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the big difference in the two cases.
I'm just like, if you're any kind of an attorney.
And he confessed, and like Ray Hughes says, he confessed many times and gave evidence now that only the killer would know.
Right.
And in Tabby's case, we didn't have that. We just had Andrew Bush and Kyle Neff telling us what happened.
Right. I just think that if you're any kind of an attorney or you're a high profile attorney, like they're saying that they are, you know, that they would be able to prove anything that they're bringing up, basically.
Oh, I agree.
And the prosecutor as well. I mean, because Lord knows we know a prosecutor that doesn't prove anything.
And that's what's wrong with this defense team, is that they keep going on and on and on with this, and they have no evidence to support it.
Right.
They should have dropped it a long time ago and come up with a different defense.
Yep. Okay, well, I'm off here.
All right.
Thanks for giving me a 30-second head warning.
Hey, thanks for jumping in there and getting on real quick and helping me with this.
No problem. I'll talk to you later.
We're not fighting, Kathy. This is actually how we talk through things in cases. And then we beat our heads against the wall afterwards. So, okay. So that is the 3 depositions or testimonies by Jerry Holeman during the 3-day hearings. We will be back on at 8 p.m. Eastern time to have a discussion and read some more testimonies that I received today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you not too long, hour and a half. Before you know it, we'll be back. Thanks everyone for joining us. I appreciate you. I love you all. Thank you for all of the happy anniversary wishes at the beginning of the stream. And I'll be back with others to give you our thoughts and read more testimony. Bye.